Right now, there is something in your life that you are paying for out of habit, not need. You do not know what it is yet. But by the end of this video, you will. And it might be costing you more than you think. Today we are looking at 10 things that used to make sense to spend money on. Things your parents paid for without blinking. Things you grew up watching people pay for week after week without anyone ever stopping to ask why. And somewhere along the way, quietly, without a single announcement, they stopped being worth it. Some of these will surprise you. One of them might make you a little uncomfortable in a good way. Number 3 is the one almost everyone gets backwards, so stay with us for that one especially. And by the time we reach number 1, you will understand something much bigger than any single purchase on this list. You will understand why your brain keeps paying for things long after the actual reason for paying is gone. So here is the question underneath everything we are about to cover. Why do you keep paying for something even after it stops working for you? Psychologists have a name for part of the answer. It is called the sunk cost fallacy. That means you keep investing in something simply because you already invested in it before, not because it is still a good deal today. Researchers Harold Arks and Catherine Bloomer studied this back in the 1980s. They found that people will throw good money after bad again and again, just to avoid the uncomfortable feeling of admitting a loss. Hold on to that idea. Sunk cost. We are going to come back to it more than once because it hides inside almost every item on this list, wearing a different disguise each time. 10 items, one pattern underneath all of them. Let's start. To name it, cable television. For decades, cable was simply the default. You paid one bill and in return you got everything, live and on demand, in one bundle. Now look at the average household. Many people are paying for cable and 2, sometimes 3, streaming services stacked right on top of it. That is not saving money compared to the old days. That is stacking bills on top of bills, quietly, month after month. Young people are not paying for cable because they actually watch it anymore. They are paying because cancelling feels like a hassle, calling the company, sitting on hold, saying no twice to a retention offer designed to make you feel guilty for leaving. Your brain would rather keep paying $20 extra a month, silently, forever, than spend 10 uncomfortable minutes on a single phone call. That is not really a math problem. That is a psychology problem wearing a bill as a disguise. And it gets stranger. Some cable providers actually build their retention scripts around lost language on purpose. Phrases like, "you'll lose access to," instead of neutral phrases like, "this plan includes." Small wording, big effect on what your brain decides to do next. Multiply $20 a month by 12 months, then by however many years you have quietly kept the plan going, and the number gets uncomfortable fast. Here is a small challenge before we move on. Pull up your bill right now or later tonight and look at exactly what channels you actually watched this month. Not what you might watch, what you actually press play on. Most people find the real number is smaller than 5. Number 9. Extended warranties on small electronics. You buy a blender. The cashier asks if you want the 2-year protection plan for $12. It feels small, it feels responsible, it feels safe. But here is the part nobody explains at the register. Companies only offer these warranties because they make money on them, on average, across millions of customers. If the company expected to pay out more in repairs than they collect in warranty fees, the warranty simply would not exist as a product. The math is quietly built against you before you ever say yes. This connects to something called loss aversion, a concept from psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, whose research changed how economists think about human decision-making forever and eventually helped Kahneman win a Nobel Prize. Loss aversion means your brain feels the pain of losing something roughly twice as strongly as it feels the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. So even a small, unlikely chance of losing your blender feels scarier in the moment than the near certainty of losing $12 slowly, painlessly, purchase after purchase, warranty after warranty, year after year. You are not really choosing safety when you buy that plan. You are choosing to avoid a feeling. And feelings, it turns out, are expensive to avoid. Quick pause here. Think about how many small protection plans you have said yes to in your life without really deciding at all. a phone case insurance add-on, a furniture protection plan. A streaming service is premium tier you barely use, upgrade it to just in case. None of them individually feel like a big decision. That is exactly the point. They are designed to feel small, one at a time, forever, so the total never quite comes into focus. There is actually a broader term economists use for this pattern of tiny, repeated, easy-to-ignore purchases. They sometimes call it the latte factor, popularized by financial author David Bach. The idea is not that coffee itself ruins anyone's finances. The idea is that small, frequent, emotionally invisible purchases add up into large, very visible totals, and warranties are simply one of the sneakier versions of that same pattern, dressed up as responsibility instead of indulgence. Number 8. Name brand groceries across the board. Not always, to be fair. Sometimes there really is a meaningful difference in quality between products, but for a huge number of everyday items, the only real difference between the name brand and the store brand is the label and the price tag sitting underneath it. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely has spent years studying exactly why people pay more for products that are functionally identical, sometimes made in the very same factory on the very same production line. His research keeps landing on the same conclusion again and again. Packaging changes perception. A fancier box, a bolder logo, a more expensive looking label makes your brain expect a better product, even when the ingredients inside are chemically the same, down to the gram. Here is a picture worth holding in your head. 2 jars of peanut butter sitting side by side on a shelf. Same peanuts, same oil, sometimes literally the same factory floor. One costs $6, one costs $3.50. Your taste buds cannot actually tell the difference in a blind taste test, and study after study has shown exactly this. But your brain is not really tasting the peanut butter in that moment. Your brain is tasting the price tag, and the quiet story that price tag tells about status and quality. Multiply that small gap across every single grocery run, every week, every year of your life, and you start to see a number that is much larger than anyone expects when they first sit down to actually add it up. This does not mean every generic product is automatically better, and it does not mean quality never matters. It means the label alone is not evidence of quality. The only way to actually know is to test it yourself, once, quietly, without telling your brain which jar is which beforehand. Number 7. Gym memberships you are not using. This one stings a little, so let's be honest about it together, without judgment. Millions of people are currently paying a monthly fee for a gym they have visited twice this year, and here is the uncomfortable twist behind it. Gyms actually plan around this. They oversell memberships on purpose because they know most members will pay and never show up. It even has a name inside the fitness industry, the breakage model. It works precisely because paying for a gym membership feels like progress, even when you never actually walk through the door. Your brain treats the payment itself as a kind of proof. I paid, therefore I must be the kind of person who works out. That feeling is comfortable. It requires zero effort. It is also completely disconnected from your actual results, your actual health, and your actual bank account balance. Researchers who study habit formation, including psychologist Wendy Wood at the University of Southern California, have found that most behavior change fails not because people lack willpower, but because the environment around them was never actually set up to support the new habit in the first place. A gym membership alone changes nothing. It is just a receipt that feels like a promise you never actually made out loud to yourself. If this is you, it does not mean you are lazy or broken. It just means a monthly charge convinced your brain that intention was the same thing as action. It is not. And here is the twist that makes this one worse than most items on this list. Some studies on gym attendance have found that once people stop going for a few weeks, the guilt itself becomes a reason to avoid going back, rather than a reason to return. The membership becomes a monthly reminder of failure instead of a monthly invitation to try again. At that point, you are no longer paying for fitness. You are paying to feel bad on a schedule. Number 6. Paying full price for anything with a subscription trap built in. Streaming services. Apps. Subscription boxes that show up every single month whether you actually want them or not. Subscriptions today are engineered around a psychological principle, sometimes called the path of least resistance. Canceling a subscription requires effort, sometimes deliberately buried, confusing effort. Staying subscribed requires absolutely nothing at all. So even long after you stop actually using something, you often keep paying for it, simply because doing nothing is always easier than doing something. Some companies design their cancellation process to be intentionally slow, confusing, and full of extra steps and pop-up offers. That is not an accident, and it is not bad design. It is a business model built directly on top of your inertia, and it works far better than most advertising ever could hope to. Here is a strange number worth sitting with for a second. Studies on subscription behavior have repeatedly found that a large share of people cannot even name every recurring charge currently sitting on their own credit card statement. Not because they are careless people, because subscriptions are specifically built to disappear quietly from memory, while continuing to disappear month after month from your bank account in the background without a single reminder. Try this tonight. Open your bank statement and highlight every recurring charge under $15. Do not cancel anything yet. Just look at the total at the bottom of that list. Most people find at least one subscription they forgot they even had. We are now halfway through the list. And this is exactly where things start getting stranger, because the next few items on this list are not really about products at all. They are about identity. Stay with this next part because it changes how the rest of the list will land. Number 5. Buying things to impress people you do not even like that much, if you are honest with yourself. There is a name for this pattern too. Social comparison theory, first described by psychologist Leon Festinger back in the 1950s. It describes how you measure your own success, your own worth, largely by comparing yourself to the people around you, especially people you see as similar to you in age, income, or lifestyle. The uncomfortable truth underneath a huge amount of spending is this. It is often not really about what you want at all. It is about staying level with people you are quietly, sometimes unconsciously, competing with. A coworker with a nicer car in the parking lot, a neighbor renovating their kitchen, a friend posting yet another vacation photo at the perfect angle in the perfect light. Researchers have an old phrase for this, one that predates social media by decades: keeping up with the Joneses. It used to be about the literal neighbors next door. Now it is about a phone screen full of people you barely know in real life, showing you only the best 5 seconds of every single day, curated, filtered, and endless, scrolling past you before you can even finish one thought about it. Researchers who study social media specifically, including work built on Festinger's original theory, have found that upward comparison, meaning comparing yourself to people who appear better off, tends to increase spending intended to close that gap, even when no one around you actually asks you to compete. Nobody sends an invitation to this competition. Your brain joins anyway. Number 4. New phones every single year. Be honest with yourself for a second. Your phone from 2 years ago still works. It still takes decent photos. It still sends texts. Still opens every app you actually use. Still gets you through your day without a single complaint. What changed is not your need. What changed is a marketing calendar, engineered years in advance, designed specifically to make last year's model feel outdated on purpose, right on schedule, every single cycle. This connects straight back to loss aversion again, because that is how deep this bias actually runs. A new phone gets framed by advertising as something you are gaining, something exciting, something new to unbox. But upgrading every single year is actually something you are quietly losing, over and over, cycle after cycle, hundreds of dollars, sometimes well over 1,000, spent on speed and camera features that most people, according to independent usage studies, never come close to fully using in daily life. Here is a small test worth trying. Before your next upgrade, write down one specific thing your current phone cannot do that you actually need it to do. If you cannot fill in that blank honestly, the upgrade is not solving a problem. It is solving a feeling. There is also a quieter cost most people never calculate. Trade-in values drop fastest in the first 12 months a phone is on the market. Wait even one extra year before upgrading, and the total cost over a decade can shrink dramatically. Not because the phone is worse, but because you stop feeding a cycle that was never designed with your wallet in mind. Number 3. And this is the one almost everyone on the internet gets backwards. Paying off low-interest debt aggressively while ignoring high-interest debt sitting right next to it. This sounds responsible. It sounds like discipline. It sounds like the mature, adult thing to do. But it is often mathematically the wrong move. And here is exactly why. Imagine you have a car loan sitting at 4% interest and a credit card sitting at 22% interest at the very same time. Every extra dollar you throw at that low-interest car loan first is a dollar that is not fighting the debt actually hurting you the fastest. The debt quietly compounding against you every single month, getting larger while you feel productive paying off the wrong one. This mistake happens because of something called mental accounting, a concept introduced by economist Richard Taylor, who later won a Nobel Prize partly for this exact body of work. Your brain treats money as if it lives in separate mental buckets, even though, mathematically, money does not actually work that way at all. A debt bucket here, a savings bucket there, a spending bucket somewhere else entirely. You feel a small hit of relief paying down any chunk of debt, regardless of which one it is. So people often pick the debt that simply feels most urgent, most visible, most emotionally satisfying, instead of the one that is mathematically the most expensive to keep alive. The math does not care about your feelings. The math only cares about the interest rate compounding against you every single day, whether you are watching it or not. Attack the highest interest rate first, every time, unless there is a genuinely rare exception involving something like an employer match. That one single shift in order, and nothing else about your income or effort, can save some people literal thousands of dollars over just a few years. There is one common exception worth naming honestly. If your employer matches retirement contributions, that match is essentially free money, and it can sometimes outweigh even high-interest debt in the short term. Beyond that one specific case though, the rule holds. Highest interest rate first. Every other order is your feelings talking, not your calculator. Number 2. Paying for convenience you did not actually need in the moment. Delivery fees, rush shipping, premium checkout lines. None of these choices are wrong to make sometimes, occasionally, when time genuinely matters more than money does. But add them all up across an entire year, and most people are genuinely stunned by the total sitting there in black and white on a spreadsheet. A $5 delivery fee here, a $3 rush charge there. It never feels like real money in the moment it happens. It always, somehow, feels like real money the moment you finally see the annual total added up in one place. Nice runs on the exact same mental trick as the subscription trap from earlier in this video. Small charges simply do not register in your brain the same way large charges do. Your brain is built, evolutionarily, to notice one large, obvious threat, not 50 small, quiet leaks spread out across an entire year, one tiny fee at a time. So the leaks just keep leaking, invisibly, month after month, year after year. Dude, one simple habit fixes this faster than any app. At the end of each month, before you look at anything else, add up every convenience fee separately from the purchases themselves. Not the groceries, not the packages, just the fees. Seeing that number alone, isolated from everything else, is often enough to change behavior without a single rule being written down anywhere. And now, finally, number 1. The single biggest thing that quietly stopped being worth the money, and the exact thing we teased at the very start of this video. It is not a product, it is not a subscription, it is not even, really, a single purchase you could point to on a receipt if someone asked you to. Number 1 is spending money to avoid a feeling, instead of spending money to actually solve a problem. Every single item on this entire list connects back to this one core idea underneath it. The unused gym membership was never really about fitness. It was about avoiding the uncomfortable feeling of not trying at all. The name brand groceries were never really about taste. They were about avoiding the small discomfort of choosing the cheaper looking option in front of other shoppers. The extended warranty was never really about the blender itself. It was about avoiding the tiny fear of losing $12 all at once, out loud, in one single moment of decision. This is the strange truth hiding behind almost every purchase that eventually stops being worth it. You are not actually buying the thing itself. You are buying temporary relief from an uncomfortable feeling, and relief, by its very nature, does not last very long at all. So, quietly, without much thought, you go and buy it again next month. The blender warranty again. The upgraded phone again. The name brand jar again. Different item. Same underlying transaction. Over and over. Dressed up in a new receipt each time. Conman and Tversky's research. The same research behind loss aversion from earlier in this video points to something even deeper underneath all of this. Your brain evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to react fast to threats and discomfort, long before it ever evolved to calculate long-term financial value with any real precision. That ancient wiring kept your distant ancestors alive on the savannah, scanning for danger, reacting instantly. It was simply never built, at any point in its long evolutionary history, for credit cards, monthly subscriptions, 30-day return windows, or a one-click checkout button sitting an inch from your thumb. So here, finally, is the open loop from the very start of this video, closed. Remember that thing you are paying for out of habit, not need, that we mentioned in the first few seconds? It is not really the gym membership. It is not really the cable bill. It is not really the extended warranty sitting quietly on some receipt in a kitchen drawer. Those are all just symptoms, surface level, easy to point at and easy to blame. The real thing you have been paying for, underneath every single one of them, is a feeling you never actually stopped to name. Hey, here is what to do with everything we just covered. Not a lecture. Not a rigid new budget you will abandon in 3 weeks. Just one small shift you can start using today, right now, before your very next purchase. Pause for 5 full seconds and ask yourself one honest question. Am I solving a real problem right now, or am I simply trying to make an uncomfortable feeling go away? That single question will not fix your entire financial life overnight, and nobody is claiming it will. But it will quietly change more decisions over time than any budgeting app, any spreadsheet, or any strict rule ever could, because it targets the actual root cause hiding underneath the spending, instead of just treating the symptom sitting on top of it. Right now, there is still something in your life that you are paying for out of habit, not need. You know what it is now. You have named it. The only question left, the one that actually matters, is what you decide to do about it today. Not next month, when the next bill arrives on its usual schedule. Today, while the question is still fresh in your mind.